Number 7, make sure you got your slide, module 6 slides open. Slide number 7, kind of see who's all on there. So yeah, please take attendance.
If you're not here, please raise your hand.
Yeah.
Oh no, Janie left. She's back now.
Yeah, did she run downstairs to plug in or what?
I don't
Janie?
know. Janie just went.
Better internet, just run to the modem and we'll plug you in. Awesome.
Okay.
And then we'll go, yeah. Looking at slide 8. I'm assuming you guys are either taking attendance or have done that. And slide 8, kind of a review in the sense of it's the resources page, it's our Zoom link, it's our Google Classroom codes, and our parking lot. But I was going to say, I know I checked the parking lot earlier and it was kind of glitchy. I'm trying to play it wrong.
I'll pull it. I can share the link in the
No,
chat.
looks like
I'm gonna
it.
say, sorry, is it working?
I see it now. Yes. Oh, there's your, yeah.
That's there. So yay, you guys, we have a parking lot.
There's also a parking lot at the end, Janie. So I see a
Yes,
question
it should be
there.
the same one.
Okay. Either way, we'll go from the opening logistics end, slide 9, slide 10. We're pretty familiar with the Zoom. Just mute when you're not talking and unmute when you are talking. Also invite others in the airtime when we're in our engagement. And I'm not sure how many times we're going to go into our breakout sessions. We're kind of small tonight. So Scott, I'll just let you kind of determine that. Go ahead to slide 12 then. And yeah, you can take components and go to parts. That's good. And then the next one, I'm doing the welcome with my dog in the background. Tonight, what we're going to do, or today, it says summary of conclusions and connections. So kind of summarizing what we've gone through already, and then kind of introducing differentiation of lessons, and then the wrap up. So that's about it. So let's go to 14, meeting openings. So what are you most looking forward to in this training? Yeah, it's already there. And what do you want to take a closer look at? So go ahead and fill in a box. And we have 2 slides, so 15 and 16. Okay, so Scott's looking forward to March when the weather is warmer. That doesn't include what he's doing tonight, though. Continuing building knowledge and having great conversations. Julie, hearing if anyone has gotten their, oh, the words are kind of flying in front of it. Circuit board, the playground packets yet. Nathan, working with the team, strategies for differentiation. I need ideas. Janie, I'm like not reading my Spanish. Are you reading Spanish because you lost your
It's
your aid to the
Spanish.
Spanish world? Come on.
Well, obviously I'm not good at anything tonight. Like my camera was on my messy kitchen the last like 3 minutes. But no, so I'm on my
So if
phone
we see
using my data.
spaghetti sauce on your camera, you're saying it's okay?
Yeah, but so I set my camera or my phone in front of my computer and I did some kind of a shift of my keys. So now my keyboard's all jacked up. Like
Okay.
I hit the F6 or F3. I don't know what I was hitting. But anyway, I'm just not going to type right now.
Okay. Ah. And looks like Tina and I are on the next page 16. I always like to look at differentiated lessons like K. Learning more. Sounds good. All right. Scott, are you taking over on 17?
Yep, I am. I'm going to start
Okay.
in with slide 17. So thank you, Risa, for getting us started. And this is going to deal with summary of conclusions and connections. So when you're looking at these slides, basically what I'm doing is I'm giving you a preview of kind of where we are now, obviously, but also where we've kind of come before. Okay. And I know sometimes when we get to unit 5 and talk about these things, it can be a little bit overwhelming because maybe you haven't started this unit yet. That's definitely okay. But what we want to do is build those connections to kind of what's out there so that, as you look to build your computer science curriculum, you have an idea of kind of where everything fits together. So, I mean, some things really make sense. Sometimes they don't always. But so the big thing is just make sure not to overwhelm yourself with all of this, but just kind of take it as a preview of what's out there. So let's go ahead and we'll go to slide 17. So we'll follow along on that if we can, if it'll move. All right. So this is kind of taking a look at where when we're at the chapter 1 progression, and obviously you can go through and read through all the fine print. I'll just kind of read the bold print, but what we start with on 18 is that representation matters, and then we move to lesson 2 where we talk about patterns and representation, and then we go to lesson 3 where we deal with the ASC2 and binary representation, and then we go to lesson 4 which deals with representing images. So we kind of talk about how data looks and how it works. All right, and then if we go to slide 19, we continue with that progression, talking about how we represent numbers, how we keep data secret, combining representations, and then also create a representation. All right, so one of the things that as you go to slide 20 that I'm going to have you do, and I'm going to have you in a breakout room, and since if I remember at the last check we had about 3, so it'll be just the 3 of you in that breakout room, but we're going to spend about 8 minutes. And what you're going to do in those 8 minutes is this. You are going to go through the Code Studio project resources, and you'll see that there's a link there down at the bottom of slide 20. And you'll see on the right-hand side, you'll tell you exactly what those project resources are. All right. And then on slide 21, so when you get into your breakout room, now obviously we don't have 3 groups, but you never know how many people are going to be in our meeting. But what I would want you to do is this, is in that 8 minutes, okay, I want all 3 of you to pick a resource to explore from the Code Studio project resources, okay? Take a minute or 2 to look through it on your own. And then as a group, I want you to discuss that. And then what I want you to do is I want you to list the key takeaways. So when we come out of the meeting, or excuse me, the breakout room, I just want you to report briefly on just some of the key takeaways that you have from your discussion. All right, so just kind of review that you'll be in your breakout room for 8 minutes. Take a look at your Code Studio project resources for a minute or two, and then as a group, you're going to discuss the key takeaways, and you're going to list them on slide 21. All right, is there any questions before we go to our breakout rooms for 8 minutes? Is everybody still alive? I didn't bore you to death. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's out there still listening. Okay, I see some nods, so that's always a good sign. So, all right, Julie, can we get the breakout rooms ready to go and beam them to their spots?
They've been beamed.
All right.
Now you guys.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was looking at the
I think
reflection and how it's very similar to Gots and Needs, like what they now know because of the
Yep.
activity, and then things that they might want to know more about.
And we also said that the project guides. We also said that the project guides do such a good job. It's like an algorithm in itself of breaking things down in a very orderly fashion that it logically flows to the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, as you worked with, I mean, obviously with middle school, high school students, I'm dealing with I don't know if any of you have this, I'm dealing with a challenging group of 7th graders. I don't know if anybody else has there, maybe I'm just the only one. But, you know, I think a lot of times as we go through this, you know, we were talking a little bit about rubrics and different things. And, you know, as you look at and all of us here are good teachers, we're trying to make ourselves better. A lot of it comes down to is you just have to look at, you know, what do I have in front of me? Some things are going to work well. I mean, it has to be, I hate to say it, pretty structured. And then there's other times where maybe it's going to be a little bit less structured. So, you know, sometimes with one of the issues that I've had with rubrics in the past is sometimes I always feel like the rubrics I created made creativity too. Let me rephrase that. Rubrics made things too structured. And limited the creativity on the classroom. So just kind of some thoughts I've had about, you know, some of the different things that I've done with my students. So any other thoughts on the key takeaways? I know that you have a wealth of wisdom. All right. Well, if you think of something more, just let me know and we'll talk about that. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at, I do believe 22 is where we'll talk about. And so basically what we're doing is we're just kind of continuing on with the Unit 5 progression. So we were talking a little bit about data. We're going to continue on with that discussion. And we're going to talk about with our students problem solving in data, problem solving with big data, structuring data, making decisions with data, interpreting data, automating data decisions. Do I have any people that are Excel people, spreadsheet people? That's like your big thing. Okay, yes, I know people are raising their hands and I'm like, man, I think I'm the most, you know, okay, I've got my video on, hopefully it works. I love that type of thing. I really do. And maybe I'm a dork, that's fine, but I really like to look at data and I like to make charts to the point where I don't save my charts because I like to make more charts. So I'm a dork. I admit it. That's just the way life is. So if you don't like charts, you won't understand me. But just be aware that this is an opportunity where you can make those connections. If your person really, really likes Excel and spreadsheets, this is going to be your baby. So great. So if you take a look, so we're going into, we're talking about all this data, and now we're going to go to slide 23. Like we did before. In lesson 15, they talk about the project, make a recommendation, and I'm not going to read through the entire slide for that, but you can read through that on your own. But once again, we're just going to get a glimpse. So you can see that there's the project resources, and once again, those resources are listed on the right side, but it gives you an opportunity to review those. Now, if you skip ahead to slide 24, okay, we're going to do the exact same activity that we just got done finishing, only with a different group of resources. So what you're going to do here just in a few moments is we're going to take 8 minutes, get into the breakout room. Each one of you is going to take a look at a resource for 2 minutes. And then as a group, for the next 5 to 6 minutes, you are just going to talk about some of the key takeaways that you learned from that resource. And you can put them into this chart. Now, if you don't quite get them into that chart, that's okay. When we come back together, we can talk about it. So, but just kind of as a review of what we're doing again. So on slide 23, there's a link for Code Studio project resources. That link is also on slide 24. So we'll be in the breakout rooms for 8 minutes. And each one of you should pick one resource to study for 2 minutes. And then as a group for the next 5 to 6 minutes, you are going to discuss the key takeaways from that. Are there any questions? All right, we'll have Julie beam us up or out or whatever the correct terminology is. We didn't lose anybody. That's always a good sign. So I popped into your breakout room for a little bit. Sounds like there was some good discussions going on. So I don't try to interrupt and try to dumbfound people, make them go crazy. So, but so in your conversations, what were some of your key takeaways that you like to share with us? I didn't mean to make everybody go silent. It's kind of like asking somebody to pray at a Bible study.
You can
I
start.
like the organization that they had with their project, and we talked about how it goes back to the problem solving process and how that can always be included in your lessons. Then I did say something about how they had a survey and how I asked for them to, I think, look at 25 different people or something, but at a small town like that, that's the whole class. So you'd have to adjust that a little bit.
Scott, what just happened?
I don't know.
Does anyone else's slideshow look like
That
mine?
is a good.
Yeah, I had something disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
it-
couple
Oh, no.
things disappeared.
It's just gone.
Hmm.
School's out. Woohoo!
Hey.
Nice, you guys. It doesn't work
Um,
that way.
It doesn't look like there's a new version. It's still 837 was the last current version.
I see your name all over this document.
All right. I have
My
no
name?
idea.
Name,
So
you're good.
if I lost any of your thoughts, Kay, I'm sorry, but
Oh, it's not a big deal. They weren't worth saving anyway.
oh no, I was like, what would we do without Kay?
Let's see,
think we're
what
back.
number were we on?
We-
26?
yeah.
Oh,
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, why is it doing this?
I don't know.
Okay, who is
That's weird. Yeah,
Janie? I think.
I refreshed and it came back, but then when I went further in the thing, it just
Janie,
disappeared again.
I think you need to not touch it for a minute, okay?
Oh, is it me? Well,
We're
my
not
my
sure.
phone.
Oh yeah, with
Yeah.
your funky keyboard. Yes.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, we're figuring it. That's what revision
And see-
history's for. Look at us.
Troubleshooting.
Look at us
And here-
use revision history.
Look at, can you see my screen? I was like, it's totally Nate because it says Nate has left. Open the document. That's what I kept seeing. So obviously blame the person who's pointing fingers. I'm so sorry, you guys.
All right, it's
Yeah.
okay. I did lose a couple of your thoughts, but
It's o-
but we're in a bit. We're back. So you
Yeah,
can.
let's see.
Yeah.
So Tina
I
had
just
the
wanted to,
first resource.
Yep.
And she kind of shared about that. I took the second one, and that was the peer review form. And we like the way that that goes full circle from the creator asking for input from peers, and then the peers giving it with a rubric with a simple binary choice of was that content in there or was it not, and then a space for comments. And then it goes full circle back to the creator to do some reflection based on that feedback. We thought maybe it was good to have multiple people give input, and then we kind of liked the idea of self-evaluating as well.
Okay. Yep.
And then Nate
Some
had
good
the
ideas.
last resource.
Okay. All right. Some good resources there. I was going to say there for a second as things were disappearing, I says, if you don't like where the discussion's going, that just please let us know. You don't have to delete anything. So, but yeah, good insights as we have some from our breakout rooms. So if there's nothing else that we want to share about from our breakout rooms, I'm just going to turn it over to slide 25, where Janie is going to lead us.
Like, are you sure you want to turn it over to me, Scott?
We'll let you talk. Just don't touch
Oh.
anything.
Man. Well, my keyboard is just tweaking out, and I know the computer in front of me is my work computer, and I have another computer. I have my personal one down here and my phone right here. But anyway, we're all getting new computers at the end of this year. Like this, it's on its last leg. Like everybody's computers are dying at school, and so I just have a feeling I'm about there. So. All right, so we're jumping right into differentiation. And basically, what I'm gonna have you do is if you guys want to, I wish I would have thrown a link in here, but in Code Studio, I would really recommend opening up Unit 5, Lesson 5's lesson plan so that you have it right in front of you and you can look at the objectives. If you want to jump between Code Studio and the lesson plan, like completely up to you. But when we look at these strategies, we'll kind of revert back to the lesson plan. If anyone wants to throw that in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. But if not, that's fine because I have it in the slides too. So we'll be good. But go ahead and look at lesson 5. And does anyone recall this lesson? Is there any familiarity when you're looking at it? Like I like to see all my participants when I do this. Does this lesson look familiar to anybody?
For lesson 5.
Yep, Unit 5, Lesson 5, representing numbers. This lesson was the lesson that Risa did last time we were all together. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Okay,
like, I didn't
with
think
the binary.
It's with the binary. Yep. So Risa put her teacher hat on and we all separated into our breakout rooms. And I remember a couple of people, I think it was Bree. I know Bree's not in tonight, but I remember watching Bree. I'm sorry if I messed something up here, but I watched Bree really struggle with this activity. And so it's really fresh in my mind. But anyway, if you want to just open up the lesson plan so that you can see the teacher side of things, basically we're taking the objectives and we're kind of going over them. Like, what are you guys surprised of? Like, what is not included as a learning goal around representing numbers in binary that some people might have expected? And then why do you think they weren't included as a goal? So again, you're kind of backtracking your memory to being a student when Risa was the teacher. And now you're looking at it at a teacher's lens, looking at the lesson plan in front of you. And if anyone has any ideas as to the objectives, like why are the objectives the way they are? I'll give you a couple moments just to kind of dig around and ponder this question. And then if somebody wants to chime in, that'd be great. Does anybody have any thoughts? Thank you, Scott, for posting the lesson plan. I feel like there has to be an overarching thought that is on everybody's brain right now, but maybe it's just me. I'll read the objectives. What's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think that this just the concept of binary can lend itself to a very fun beginning, in that if they don't know a lot about it or anything at all, like you could just ask them, give me 2 symbols or 2 items or objects that can represent this and can represent this, and then they can start to just kind of like what the where's the activity guide, like they were using like 2 different things to represent which one is a 1 and which is a 0. But I don't know, like you could be more creative and just, before getting to terminology, have some fun with it and add in additional items that maybe are just everyday items and just make it silly, like a sock is a 1 and a shoe is a 0, like just have some fun. And then maybe do the activity guide, have something after maybe the video or something.
Awesome. Did I accidentally delete more slides again? Because I'm looking on my screen and I don't see anything, Julie.
Yeah, I see that. I concur.
Oh my gosh.
It ends on slide 22. Oh, now
Yeah,
it's back. It's
Some goofy.
Like I said, class is dismissed.
back.
I'm kidding. All right, so going forward, let's see, I don't know what slide number we're on now. Mine is still, am I good to just refresh? Gosh. Julie, if you just want to go ahead and play this video, the reason that we're going to do this as a whole group is just so that we can all watch it together. But if you remember right at the end of lesson 5, I don't know if you made it this far when Risa was teaching all of us, but there was this video and it took place at the end. So let's all go ahead and just watch this together.
Hi, Hi, my name is Lamore Freed, and I'm an engineer here at Adafruit Industries. And this is where I do engineering and design, and I design circuits for fashion and music and technology.
My name is Federico Gomez Suarez, and I'm a software developer with Microsoft Hack for Good. And I look into using technology to help us solve some of the big social problems of our times.
You may have heard that computers work on ones and zeros. Or you may have seen scary looking visuals like this. But almost nobody today actually deals directly with these ones and zeros. But ones and zeros do play a big role in how computers work on the inside.
Inside a computer are electric wires and circuits that carry all the information in a computer. How do you store or represent information using electricity?
Well, if you have a single wire with electricity flowing through it, the signal can either be on or off. That's not a lot of choices, but it's a really important start. With one wire, we can represent a yes or a no, true or false, a 1 or a 0, or anything else with only 2 options. This on-off state of a single wire is called a bit, and it's the smallest piece of information a computer can store. If you use more wires, you get more bits. More ones and zeros, with more bits, you can represent more complex information. But to understand that, we need to learn about something called the binary number system.
In the decimal number system, we have 10 digits from 0 to 9, and that's how we've all learned to count. In the binary number system, we only have 2 digits, 0 and 1. With these 2 digits, we can count up to any number. Here's how this works. In the decimal number system we're all used to, each position in a number has a different value. There's the 1 position, the 10 position, the 100 position, and so on. For example, a 9 in the 100 position is a 900. In binary, each position also carries a value, but instead of multiplying by 10 each time, we multiply by 2. So there's the 1's position, the 2's position, 4's position, the 8's position, and so on. For example, the number 9 in binary is 1, 0, 0, 1. To calculate the value, we add 1 times 8 plus 0 times 4 plus 0 times 2 plus 1 times 1. Almost nobody does this math because computers do it for us. What's important is that any number can be represented with only ones and zeros, or by a bunch of wires that are on or off. The more wires you use, the larger the numbers you can store.
With 8 wires, you can store numbers between 0 and 255. That's 8 ones. With just 32 wires, you can store all the way from 0 to over 4 billion. Using the binary number system, you can represent any number you like. But what about other types of information, like text, images, or sound? It turns out that all these things can also be represented with numbers. Think of all the letters in the alphabet. You could assign a number to each letter. A could be 1, B could be 2, and so on. You can then represent any word or paragraph as a sequence of numbers. And as we saw, these numbers can be stored as on or off electrical signals. Every word you see on every web page or your phone is represented using a system like this. Now, let's consider photos, videos, and all the graphics you see on a screen. All of these images are made out of teeny dots called pixels, and each pixel has a color. Each of the colors can be represented with numbers. When you consider that a typical image has millions of these pixels, and a typical video shows 30 images per second, now we're talking about a lot of data here.
Every sound is basically a series of vibrations in the air. Vibrations can be represented graphically as a waveform. Any point on this waveform can be represented by a number. And this way, any sound can be broken down into a series of numbers. If you want higher quality sound, you would pick 32-bit audio over 8-bit audio. More bits means a higher range of numbers.
When you use a computer to write code or make your own app, you're not dealing directly with these ones and zeros, but you will be dealing with images or sound or video. So if you want to understand how computers work on the inside, it all comes down to these simple ones and zeros and the electrical signals and the circuits behind them. They are the backbone of how all computers input, store, process, and output information.
All right, thank you so much, Julie. Can you all hear me again? Perfect. All right, so just as a little bit of a recap, that video was actually at the end of the lesson, right? And it is actually not, it's not like a legit, you have to show this video in class, right? It's optional. And for some of you, you might have been super overwhelmed with the video. Like, whoa, why am I watching this video on binary? Like, I don't even understand binary, and it can get really complicated. But just remember that it is optional, in fact. So before we move on to the next slide, I just want to take a quick second and just talk a little bit about making connections, about like how this video, it basically took the connection from the real world and how it relates to what you're learning in the lesson. Potentially when you were learning binary, it made sense, like it completely made sense to you and you thought you understood it, but now after watching the video, you're really confused. And your students might feel the same way. They might see the video at the end and be like, wow, I thought I understood what we just did. And now I have no idea what binary is and what it does. And you just know that that's common, like it happens. And in fact, I kind of did a little bit more research into this lesson in particular. And a lot of people that teach this lesson have those same experiences where, wow, we were really making headway and now all of a sudden there's a wrench thrown into the mix. And so as the teacher, you kind of come back to like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have watched that video. or maybe that's not your experience. I'm just trying to give an example that you might be able to relate to. And that's the beauty of being a teacher, and that the choice is officially yours with how you're going to structure your lessons. So maybe you decided that, hey, we're not even going to do binary until they watch this video, because this video is awesome and everybody needs to watch this video. But for the most part, the reason that we kind of talk about this video with this lesson is just because you can take it so many different ways. So let's go ahead and we'll go to the next slide. Because I want to point out, so again, the link that Scott shared with the teacher lesson plan basically has a couple little teacher tips and choices on the sides that you can always kind of revert back to. So this first one, if you decide, what is this first one? I gotta switch my screen here. It was like the teacher tip. For younger students, you may want to stop the activity after they have finished the first page of the worksheet. This means that they will not need to go online for any of the lesson. So going back to the worksheet that Risa gave us all, remember how we were going between the worksheet and Code Studio? And it was a little bit like, okay, step by step. So with a modification, you can actually decide to just do one or the other. So one of the first tips here is like, all right, we're just going to focus on page 1 and we're not even going to go online. All right, are you all still with me? I feel like I'm talking way too much. And then let's just go ahead and jump into 29. All right, the next teaching tip. This activity models a base 2-number system for the student. However, it's not necessary for the students to understand the math behind the patterns that they're creating. Students should focus on the fact that they're using a binary system, which would be the face up, face down cards that we used to represent information. Like mind blown, okay? The fact that it's not about the math, to me, that's like the biggest light bulb of this lesson. So I kind of, when I first was diving into, okay, the objectives blow me away. Like, to me, it's all about the math, and I get intimidated by math. And so when Risa was teaching it, I could see a lot of other people like feeling super intimidated because of the math. So the fact that you can remember that this activity is simply about the patterns, right? You want to focus on the patterns. So making the decision as a teacher to not even do, say, the second page of the activity guide, that just might be where you end it, right? Just picking one page and moving on. But it's all about making those lesson adjustments. So let's go ahead and jump in to, let's just take a minute to reflect with each other. Let's think about the students in your room and the objectives of Unit 5, right? So Scott, like I said, he shared those the lesson link, but I also put the lesson objectives on slide number 26. So take a second and think about the objectives and think about your students. What adjustments do you think you'll need to make to this lesson specifically to meet the needs of your students? And if you don't mind sharing as a group, otherwise, this would be a great time to write yourself a future note based on how you felt as a student and some adjustments you might need to make before you teach this lesson. Would anybody like to share out? If you want to keep it to yourself, that's fine too. But
I usually have them do like one of the binary games you find online just for like 5-10 minutes just to see if they can catch on. One of them is a kind of a drag and drop, and then the other one you can provide input to, and then some of them get it. So then those guys become the leaders, and then they can share to other students. So then I'll have to have them move around, but I think it's more fun to have them get up out of their seats and with those the dot cards, to have them represent by flipping the cards up and showing the dot, and then flipping them down if it's a 0.
I did that with the dot cards too. I think that really helps them a lot.
Yeah,
And then they
gets them on their feet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking this might be a good unplugged lesson. Just keep it totally on paper and use the cards
Mm-hmm.
and stress the pattern.
Yeah, I think an unplugged works really well.
absolutely. So let's quick jump back in. If you can open up your just the lesson plan in front of you. Hopefully it's still in front of you guys and you're not on a phone like me. But looking at the lesson plan, I always just love the way it's laid out. We've got the objectives and your links and anything that you need right at the top. There's also there's those yellow and then purple kind of colors, those little boxes where there's discussion goals and teaching tips. I just shared with you those teaching tips that they had, but looking at the discussion goals, keep in mind that they're a really great way to kind of move forward and to get the class opening up. Like I really like in some of these discussion groups about like coming up with patterns, like why do you think you would want to come up with a pattern, or what kind of things do you think would be like a good thing to represent with numbers and that kind of thing. Just like Risa got us going. Remember that these are always here for us, kind of those remarks that you can make in front of your class. when you're feeling stuck. It's like you've got these little remarks that you can just throw out there to your class. And I think they're really great. Like they're almost spot on to what needs to happen as a teacher.
Mhm.
Yes. So with
They are
the remark,
definitely my life preserver when I start to drown.
absolutely. So let's go ahead and before we do a little brainstorming, so when we talk about differentiating, I think it's very overwhelming. I honestly, that word overwhelms me to say it because I can't pronunciate the word very well. But just in a whole, you think about being a classroom teacher and now I can't say it. Differentiation is exceptionally hard. And I feel like that's why teachers deserve a Medal of Honor every day, because you're making something meaningful and different for every student. And it's kind of a constant like you're constantly trying to improve yourself as a teacher by making everything fit that student and how you see fit. So you're always trying these different unique needs, but what we're going to do is we're going to kind of jump in, as I kind of would like to stay as a whole group, if you guys don't mind, to talk about some students and their learning needs and then strategies to address their learning needs. So if you could kind of come up with, like, as a group, maybe you're thinking about an individual student that you have and their learning needs, and maybe somebody else would be able to come up with a strategy that works well for them to address their learning needs. So if anybody wants to start, if we want to start typing as a whole group, but basically everybody has their own unique learning needs. And I'm just thinking out loud here, but the fact that, gosh, is anyone typing? I just opened it up, or I see it now. Student learning needs and strategies to address their needs. I'll just maybe give you a few minutes to ponder this one and talk, like, just reflect on your own. Like maybe start with the first column before you start doing some strategies to address their certain learning needs. And we'll just take a few minutes because this is really good stuff right here. I feel like we need to have some music in the background where everybody's typing away.
Do you want me to sing?
Well, that'd be great.
Well, we want people to come back and stay on the call, so I think I better dare not.
I brought up the gallery walk, in the gallery walk where they take turns going to each computer and they know to get up when you play the Rickroll. So when you do Rick Astley's Rickroll,
That's awesome.
I am so tired of the Rickrolls, please. No.
I'll send one in an email to you.
Thanks, Ned.
Get you Rickrolled one last time.
I love this. So I'm just gonna jump in with a couple of little points here. In this whole unit, like, yeah, we're focused a lot on lesson 5. Let's be honest, like we talked about it last time and now we're talking about it this time. But thinking about some ideas that we have in front of us, like they can obviously be applied to multiple lessons throughout the unit 5 and then throughout the entire course of CSD. But we can just try to remember that simplifying your lesson and your instruction can meet the unique learning needs of students within your classroom as individuals and as an entire class. So you might have some classes, I'm sure you can all relate, to where you just need to do something different for the entire class because they're just that kind of group, right? I remember having a class that they almost couldn't handle any unstructured activity, and it really depressed me, but I just took it as all right, this is how I need to handle this moving forward, like make it as structured as possible. That's kind of a silly example, but just thinking about how you can take your strategies and you can make them different from lesson to lesson or from class to class. And then some lessons you can even spend more time on than others. Like it's all based on your kind of your decisions. So hopefully you all have had a time to look at these strategies that you've come up with as a group. I'm loving it. Like this is awesome because you're taking some real life examples. Does anyone want to jump in and just chat about a strategy that really stood out to you while you're reading this or while you're helping come up with strategies? I don't want to just take the whole floor here, but looking at some of what everybody says, like I look at the non-social learner and then some strategies to address that learner would be a mix of group and individual work, sometimes choice to work alone or in a group. I love that. Is there anything that you guys want to jump out and explain here, or are we good with this kind of gallery walk?
I like a lot of what we've got here. It's like things that I've done too, and it just works great. I'd add also like one of the ways that we can do a formative assessment. I call it drop in the bucket. So like you ask them something specific about the lesson, and then you give them either a note card or a sticky note, and then on the way out at the end of the class period, they can drop it into some kind of bucket. And since I drink a lot of coffee, I have a lot of cans. So I just put a can out past like at the end of the right before the door, so they can just drop it in the bucket on the way out.
I love it. All right. Well, I love how this is in front of everybody and you can just keep reverting back to this, especially if you come up with something that you want to add or want a different perspective on. But this is great so far. And let's see here. So I think I'm just going to jump to this last slide. So we didn't quite get to slide 33. I just wanted to have a little extra padding in case we were really going into a lot of different unique learning needs. But before we finish up on this topic here, I just want to share something that Microsoft shared with their definition of inclusion. Because I feel like with this subject matter especially, I mean, this is overarching. It's always going to be a theme I think no matter what, it's like, how do we get every student to feel as welcomed and valued? So let's go ahead and just read this definition of inclusion. So you might have recalled reading about this in our asynchronous work before this class started. But basically, it's the goal that we are including every student. So every classroom is an inclusive to some of your students, but our goal is for the classroom to be an inclusive place for every student. So I just wanted you all to keep this in mind, and keep this in mind that when you're talking about an inclusive classroom, it can really mean different things to different people. And so I guess to just hone in on the point of creating that learning environment that's welcoming of everybody, whether it's their identity, their background, their differences and perspectives without barriers or judgment. And I'm just going to finish there too. Might as well just read it again. This means actively attending to gender, race, ethnicity, ability, or socioeconomic status. So that being said, the link is right there. If I see a few of you have already clicked on it, but that's a really great resource to kind of keep as it's kind of your guide to what kind of culture you want to create in your classroom. And I just recommend that you kind of keep that in your back pocket, especially when we move forward with the goal of just including everybody and making everybody feel welcome. So that's basically all that I had for the differentiation course, and kind of wrapping it up with just keeping that culture of inclusion. So was there anything that I missed or anyone wanted to add in on? I really don't want to hold off on any discussions by any means if anyone has anything to discuss or add on to that. But otherwise, if not, I'll go ahead and turn it back over for the wrap up.
Okay, and I will do the wrap up. Thank you, Janie. That was awesome. Differentiation, talking about the content and how we, look at that binary in the sense of some kids get it, some kids don't. How can you differentiate for those kids that either learn differently or approach numbers differently or approach computer science in a different way, having that open classroom kind of concept and having them kind of spark that ingenuity in different ways, whether it's a game on binary or I like those binary games as well, Nathan. So thanks for that follow up. Also what did I see oh, I'm clicking on the wrong thing again. Choice is a big thing too. When kids get choice, even though that can be used in any subject area, when they get that choice, then they have a little ownership in it, and you can see where there's more engagement with that. Clearing the parking lot, and I'm going to probably pull Scott and Janie in for some help on this. The first one I saw was, does anyone know how to archive classes from previous years? Oh, and thank you very much. We got it under the archive button. Yep. So this is archiving in Google Classroom. I've also noticed that in code.org, my classes stay and I set up a new class, but when I go back to that old class, the kids will have that version saved to wherever they got to. So I know they can, I don't know if they can access it or not, but I know that I can as a teacher. So.
And Scott's putting the how to archive a class with code.org too on slide number 42. He's doing that in the question parking lot there.
Oh, yep, there it is. Okay, so it's on slide 42.
Yeah, and I'm,
And
Yeah, and I'll throw that on there, just, yeah, just try to do that. And if you're having trouble with that, just give me a holler. But basically if you're doing that is if you go to the instructions there that I've listed on slide 42, and you scroll down to the sections that you created, next to each section, there is a gear. And if you select that gear next to the section, you can select archive section, and it'll archive it for however long you want it to be archived. So if that was the
Yeah, and
original question.
you can pull them out too, can't you, Scott, right? You can archive them and then you can,
I do
use
believe
them.
you can do that. Yep, I do believe you can. I don't want to archive it, and not be able to get it back, so I'm not going to try that. But yes, I do believe you can do that.
yeah, and I don't know, I don't think the kids can see it unless you undo it. So,
Okay, time out. I just have to ask you, Scott, on the question parking lot, did you just do this picture? Did you take a screenshot and do the arrows?
of the Google Classroom, I thought you did.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No.
No? Okay.
Is that,
I was like, you're really fast. I feel like arrows always take me too long.
is that you, Julie, or not?
No, it wasn't me.
Oh,
But I did,
no?
I am showing you guys on the screen, where you're archived. So in your code
Gears.
stuff, there's your
Yep.
gears, there's archive, and then I
Okay.
archived one of my demo sessions. Who knows what it was used for? And down here, I can view my archive sessions, and I can restore this baby if I need to. Okay, so pretty nice. It's almost like Google Classroom, really. I mean, in terms of ease for doing it. So I thought that's pretty cool. I learned.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, we'll go on to 37. Now we're just introducing next March 10th is the date, I'm pretty sure. March 10th. We're going to kind of go over Unit 6. So we're kind of starting Unit 6. It's Module 7 is what it's called. And we're going to reflect on learning through creation. So they're going to be creating physical computing elements. So just looking at 38, talking about focusing on hardware, problem-solving process for programming, preparing and supporting them for that circuit playground. Oh, I thought I had my circuit playground right here, but I don't. Does everyone have that, or have you accessed like to get one? Okay, do you know what I'm talking about? Those Adafruits?
I
Yes.
got mine already.
Did you?
Yes.
Cool. I'm so excited. It was like
Yeah.
sending out Christmas presents because I sent out the codes,
Excellent.
and you guys were like so fun. In fact, Kay, I sent your thank you. I mean, I didn't attribute it to you, but I was just like, I sent it to the gal from Code. She's like, I so needed that today. And so
Oh, yay.
I know. So yeah, so excited.
Awesome.
Just one thing to note about your circuit playgrounds. Before we meet the next time, if you are using a school device for these meetings, make sure that you are able to get that installed on your school device well before we meet on March 10th. What has happened in the past is we've had some people that have waited till tonight, for instance, try to install it and have run into issues. So if you're using your home device, there shouldn't be any issue. But if you are using a school device, you might want to touch base with your tech coordinator to make sure that it gets downloaded before March 10th.
Yes, agree, because there were some issues in years past where it took them 2 days to get past the, finding the blocks that were used on the computers and then unblocking them and making sure that it worked with the computer. So yes, there were some issues.
Is there anything that we need to charge? I haven't opened my box yet.
Nope, it comes with that USB and it'll just work from there.
Okay, great.
39. In closing then, just a reminder, 40, it's going to be March 10th, same time, 8 Central, 7 Mountain. There will be some, and then there's the survey link. There will be some asynchronous things as well, but Scott and Julie are awesome at sending those out the weekend before, so you can kind of look at them. So thanks for doing that, guys. And here's the post link. Go ahead and take that survey, and I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Any questions or anything in closing? Awesome. Okay. Go out there and code. Nanu, no.